For the past 3 weeks, I've been working on an action-packed 3D, full of fun first-person shooter game. And this is gonna be my first devlog video. I know the first-person shooter genre is already oversaturated with so many games, so I thought, why not add one more? I also want to mention I got a new mic, so hopefully my voiceover audio is a bit better now and I sound less like a squeaker. So anyways, this game is going to be one of my bigger projects that I actually plan on fully completing and publishing. Like I said, it's a first-person shooter, and as of right now, it's most likely going to be single player with a story mode. At first I wanted to make a multiplayer PvP game, but that seems a little ambitious right now, so I'll just see how the development goes for the single player aspect before deciding if I want to work on multiplayer. So the first question you might be asking is what the game is going to be about. To be honest, I'm really not too sure, but the general idea that I've come up with is to combine gun combat as well as player abilities and top it all off with some smooth movement mechanics. If you ever played the game Valorant before by Riot Games, it's going to be similar in the sense that it combines CSGO's gun combat along with Overwatch's abilities. Except instead of a slower movement system, this game is going to have stuff like wall running as well as slipping and sliding everywhere like in the game Apex Legends. Now that I think about it, I'm really just taking mechanics from a lot of my favorite FPS games and combining it all together. Very creative actually. If you're wondering why my game looks very bare, it's because I've only worked on it for like 3 weeks and I am nowhere near finished, like maybe just 1% of the way there. But yeah, this is supposed to be a devlog video, so let's get into the actual devlog and how the game turned out to be how it is right now. So to make my first person shooter game, I first need a character with a first person camera. I already learned a little bit of how to set up a first person character when I made my last video on learning 3D games in a week, which you should check out by the way. It's a really great video, it's very entertaining, it's very fun to watch and you won't regret watching. Except last time I used the built-in character controller to move my character, which is nice and easy to do, but I don't have full control over the physics of my character, and I kind of wanted to be able to make my character physics based because physics equals fun. So I made my own player movement script using a rigid body and he should be working perfect. So I fixed up my player movement script and now he should be working perfectly. I got started on one of my main mechanics, which was a sliding inspired by the game Apex Legends. But as you can see, it's a work in progress right now because I'm literally just changing the scale of the player and you're also sliding way too much as if you're skating on ice or something. I'll come back in the future to work more on it later, but right now it also works in slopes, so that's a pretty big dub. Now, a first person shooter wouldn't really be a first person shooter if there's nothing to shoot. It would just be first person. But what's even more important is having something to shoot with. So I utilized my beginner's level blender skills and I 3D modeled a low poly gun, and boy oh boy, this gun do be looking kinda cute. Next, I added a weapon pickup system that uses lerping to smoothly transition a gun to the player's hand. If you're wondering what the heck lerping is, I got no clue. It starts with math F, and anything to do with math ain't it for me, chief. All I can say is that I had to learn what a quaternion is and how it works, and who the f knows what a quaternion is? Have you ever even heard of a quaternion? If you haven't, enjoy this amazing photo of a quaternion that very accurately depicts exactly what a quaternion is. That doesn't explain anything, bro. Now that we have our gun, we just need enemies to shoot at. So I just took my boy Jimmy that I made from my last project, covered him up in Sunny D, and yo, my man Jimmy's packing, what the fuck? When you move your character around, the gun feels really stiff and locked in place, so I looked at other games for inspiration and realized that the weapon sort of sways when you move around, giving the gun a much more natural look. So I added that in along with some recoil animations and it already looks much better. I plan on adding multiple different types of guns in this game like rifles and shotguns, which led me to think about the reload animation and how much work it would be to make a different animation for every single gun. So good old lazy me had a stroke of genius and decided to copy Tracer from Overwatch's reload animation, where she just spins the gun. That way all my guns can just do the spin when they reload, and that saves me a lot of time. I know, pretty smart, right? Fast-paced movement is going to be a pretty important aspect of this game, so I implemented a dash move that's inspired by Jet's dash from Valorant. I think it's a pretty cool mechanic because right now when you change your movement direction to the opposite side, for example if you're moving left and you want to change direction and start moving right, there's a bit of a delay before building back up speed. So this dash can be used to quickly redirect your movement, which can lead to outplays like dodging enemy projectiles or even potentially other players' projectiles if I decide to add multiplayer in the future. Next, it was time to create some weapons. 3D modeling is honestly pretty time consuming, so I tried to make a rifle by combining 2 pistols together, and it was honestly a really good idea. Except it was really buggy and didn't work well, so I just sat my ass down and got to work on properly modeling the rifle because apparently shortcuts are not good. Lesson learned. And since I was already modeling, I decided I might as well model a shotgun too because shotguns are cool. This was supposed to be a double barrel shotgun, but my blender skills aren't that great, so I gave it some nostrils, and yeah, it's supposed to make it seem double barrel-y. I don't really know. I've made a shotgun before in my previous game, Blow 'em Up, that I made during a game jam, which you should check out by the way, it's very cool. So I just took the code and figured out how to apply it for a 3D world, and it works pretty well. Next, I wanted to fix up the sliding mechanic that I had, and if you're interested in how it works, don't worry, I got you. So today we're going to be talking about slipping and sliding. First, let me draw the floor and then the slope that we'll be sliding down. For the sake of simpleness, this rectangle here will represent our character. I'm sure all of you guys remember from our last lesson that a perpendicular vector is a vector that makes a 90-degree angle from a surface, which in this case is a slope. And this vector here is the plane of our 3D space, the horizontal plane. For clarity, let me mark this down as a right angle, and this right angle right here as theta. And theta will be the angle between our normal vector and our upwards vector. So basically how it's going to work is that as the slope gets steeper, the angle theta will become increasingly large. If you can't understand, just remember that the big theta means the big speed. And that's it for today's lesson. So yeah, the sliding works pretty well now regardless of the direction that the player is facing. I used to play a very old game called Guns the Duel that came out in around 2003, and my favorite part of that game was wall running. You could break the laws of physics and defy gravity by running on walls, then hop off of that wall onto another wall and continue defying gravity and continue wall running. So I watched some wall running tutorials and decided to give it a try. It was pretty tricky to implement because of how many different ways there was to approach it, but after around 2 days of experimenting with like 4 different implementations of the wall run, I went with this. I basically do some cool math tricks to calculate that any vertical surface is considered wall runnable, and whenever the player touches the wall, they automatically start wall running. I also added a small vertical speed boost to counteract the player falling from gravity between each wall jump. And because of the way I implemented this, the player can also do things like wall run forwards, then jump off and wall run backwards, which is a pretty gamer move. I'll probably be tweaking this a lot more to get it to feel more snappy and less floaty, but this opens up a lot more level design possibilities as well as fun gameplay. So with most of the movement mechanics out of the way, I got to work on the first demo that anyone can try out. I know it probably would have been much quicker and more efficient to use ProBuilder, which is a free Unity assets tool that helps you build scenes quickly, but I'm not really a pro, nor am I a builder, so for now a bunch of rectangles and squares will have to do. And yeah, this is how it looks. Really scuffed, as you can see all the edges everywhere, but hey, it works and it's just a demo scene, so I don't care. At the end of the demo scene, there's also a sandbox area for people to try out the movement mechanics, and I also added an enemy wave spawner, because who doesn't find swimming around in a giant pile of orange human corpses to be fun? I wanted to change the textures because right now the prototype textures kind of remind me of this thing right here, which reminds me of math, and I really hate math, so I looked up some textures and downloaded a ton of free textures. But then I realized it was a mistake and I got too lazy to look through all of them, so I'm sticking with the prototype one for now. I also installed a space skybox to see if that's the type of theme I wanted to go with for this game, but I quickly got lost in the universe and started questioning life and its purpose, so I quickly got rid of that because, you know, who likes to overthink, right? Think less, live more, you know what I'm saying? The first demo is pretty much done at this point, but I found the dash to be kind of bland and lacked a bit of visual effects, so I added some post-processing effects, then quickly realized that I was literally bending time and space, so yeah, I toned that back a bit and it's pretty cool. I also added a small Easter egg, which is my character from my previous 2D game, Blow 'em Up. I don't really know why I added him, but he's kinda cute. There's not much to show for combat except that the enemy charges at you when you're within sight range and shoots you when you're within firing range. And when you shoot the enemies, they turn into floppy boys. Oh yeah, I completely forgot to talk about how the enemy AI works, but that's boring stuff, right? No one wants to listen to me talk about it. I basically use Unity's nav mesh system so the enemies automatically pathfind to the player based on walkable surfaces, and yeah, that's all there really is, to be honest. I thought there was more to it, but it's pretty simple. This demo was heavily focused on movement and there's not really too much combat, but I will definitely be focusing on working on the combat aspect for when I release the next demo. Specifically things like player abilities, headshot damage, world objects like spikes or something that damage the player. I don't know, I'll think about it. Overall, I'd say the game is coming along pretty well and the movement is definitely fun to play around with. If you want to try the game out, you can download a demo of the game at the link in the description. Any feedback, suggestions, or even bug reports would be pretty cool. I like to hear suggestions on what to add to this game because I think it'd be pretty neat to get other people's ideas involved in the creation of this game as it comes to life. If you enjoyed watching this video, smash like. If you didn't enjoy watching this video, smash like. And also subscribe and hit the notification bell. And that's about it for this video. Thanks for watching, bye.